Hello YouTube, it's your boy GoT Gaming. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Um, the whole point of this video, as you can see it in the title, why PoE 2 is so hard for newcomers and new beginners. Um, I'll say it's not that it's hard, it's more so learning the patterns of bosses. If you're not used to ARPGs or whatever, I would say go try out Lost Ark or even Diablo 4. I'd say Diablo 4 over Lost Ark because Lost Ark is a gacha game, meaning that once you hit that pinnacle, when you get extremely strong, the game is going to become more of a build a block type game, if that makes sense. Like pretty much like you build one house, now you got to build another house, and they want you to spend money. So because it's a free to play game and it doesn't have the same architect how PoE and Diablo does it. Whereas PoE is a free to play game, a true free to play game. It's not pay to win or pay whatever. I mean, yes, you can buy more tabs. It will make it where your loot can be more organized and stuff, and which can make it like more of a win-win for the customer or the consumer. But the game does not require you to buy these things to enjoy it. You can actually play PoE for free once it becomes free to play, or even PoE 1 right now, right? And just run through it and get to maps without paying a dime. I did it before, but once I got to maps, I decided to buy the tabs because it was certain things that was in the game that made the loot unbearable and hard to like pick up. And I think what makes PoE hard for newcomers is the looting. And it's because a lot of people that are trying to, decipher how to make their build don't understand that the game is going to give you items that might work for a build that you're not targeting for. That I would say you might want to save for that build, and you could re-roll that build, and that build might be stronger than your first playthrough. Because your first playthrough in all the PoEs in each season is going to be different than your second because you're not going to have the loot or the variant of loot that you could build off of. You're starting from scratch. So when you first go in there, it's kind of like you're going in there and you're the first one to make sale, right? It's kind of like a stock. So you're the first one that buys some shares or whatever the case may be of that stock, right? And then you tag your another friend on, and then he gets on that stock. All right. Everything that you put in that stock is going to basically benefit him as well because you are sharing the same stock. Y'all part of the same business. Y'all part of the same share. But anything you're doing to lift that share up or advertise it is going to help him out. So that's pretty much how PoE works. It's like you got to figure out how to make sure you get your loot right. And it's pretty much me just explaining how PoE decides how they want to, introduce an ARPG to newcomers, right? And the only reason why newcomers have a hard time with PoE is like, especially the first one, is because the way how the loot was thrown at you. Now in PoE 2, it's not like that. It still has its difficulties, but in PoE 1, you would have got lost with the gems that you select and put on your character because you will pick up certain gems that you don't need for your build, right? When you first get in there and you go to the merchant in PoE 1, they give you a gem and then you level it up the more you use it. The more you use that gem, the higher the level becomes for that gem. Whereas in PoE 2, they simplified that and they also went towards the route how Diablo 4 was trying to introduce their game at first. Because like when I played a beta of Diablo 4, I think I had more fun than the actual base game when it came out. Because I think they made the game more so you can get to end game so fast. But once you get to end game and you do all the tiers and all of that, you get bored. You might not even want to go through the same thing again just to see a lot of flashiness on it. Diablo really doesn't challenge you until like I think Diablo 3 did challenge you, but Diablo 4 they was trying to make a new version of a ARPG where it's more open world, where it has like that World of Warcraft effect, but it's ARPG style. That's what they was trying to do. I think that's what Blizzard was trying to do with their game. Whereas at PoE, they trying to give you that Diablo 2 look or Diablo 2 vibes, right? When you come in there, you will feel like you played Diablo 2 if you played it, right? They try to give you that type of vibes, but have it in the modern sense. Whereas the like PoE 1 when it first came out, it was back in 2013, back when Diablo 3 was out. And a team of folks, I guess they used to work on Diablo 2 back in the day, and they branched off. So the people that made Diablo 3 was not the original people that made Diablo 2. So I guess it was like a different team that made Diablo 3, and I think they made Diablo 3 the way they made it so it could target new audiences, so they could easily get into it and grasp to it and know how to make certain builds or whatever real easily, right? Whereas PoE, they throw you into a like, you have nothing. You start off with square one. They don't really like teach you nothing really. You just gotta go through it and figure it out yourself. Read manuals and read certain ways on how to make certain builds. And I think Diablo 3 they kind of like threw that away and more focus on trying to get you to be excited for the game and give you that dopamine effect, right? Whereas Diablo 4, I don't get that dopamine as much. I have fun running through dungeons with like friends and stuff and teammates. That makes it fun or whatever. But once you get done with all that stuff, it gets like burnt. I get burnt out real easily. And the reason why I think I like PoE better is the bosses was way phenomenal. And I think that a lot of people think that Diablo is easier because, it's easier to make builds. But I'll say that PoE 2, they simplified it a little bit more than what they did in PoE 1. But the bosses was way better. The bosses are less telegraphed. Whereas in PoE 1, the bosses was telegraphed, but they was hard, right? You still have to go through it, and it was trials and error. Whereas Diablo, it was like in the mid ground. It was hard enough for hardcore gamers to enjoy, but also easy enough for casual ARPGers to enjoy it, to be able to get through it, to get to the final. Whereas PoE, you have to grind. You have to actually put your time in. You might have to put in 60 hours before you even get to the point where your build is phenomenal good. Whereas in Diablo, you could probably take 20 hours and your build is already OP. It's all about like the knowledge of the game and with PoE. Whereas Diablo, you don't have to have as much knowledge to get to the end or to get to wherever you want or to even get on the leaderboard, you know. And I never really had a fair shake with like Diablo. Like I never really like bought Diablo and actually stayed and stuck with it. Diablo 4 was the first Diablo that I purchased because my friend had it, and I just wanted to play with my friends. So I think that's the only thing that made Diablo fun is playing with your friends. But playing by myself, like I get bored real easily, and like especially they got the map so big where you got to go here and there and here, and they give you on this horse and stuff, but I would get tired and sleepy if there's nothing going on in that mix of the time. Whereas PoE, you jump right into the action and you go and try to clear out the map to get to the boss. And you get to the boss, boom, and then you build off of that. You level up, boom, and then they have like an end game. The end game on PoE 1, if I'm not mistaken, they had like different versions of end game where you could do tower of defense. You can actually play a RTS. You can actually play MOBA. They got like if I'm not mistaken, it was one season where they had when you go in the afterlife, and they had it where you playing like a MOBA type version of PoE. It's kind of like LOL or something like that, where you can recruit some of these people, like the NPCs that you run on certain these missions, and they'll be on your team with their powers or whatever, and then they'll just go through and cause havoc on the other side on the opposing player or whatever, and it's like a domination type of vibes. They got like a hard point. I mean, if you ever played Halo, the Halo like ARPG that they came out with, you will understand. Like it's almost similar to that. Like I actually had fun playing Halo's ARPG when they came out with that one, but I think that was more like a RTS. I think, cause I think it wasn't really like a ARPG. It's like basically, unless that was like Halo Wars, but no, that's Halo Wars. But they had one that was like exactly like an ARPG. And if I'm not mistaken, when I was a kid, I think that Arcade or Ascendance was the first ARPG that I actually got into. And then I think I played other ones that was like, I think it was like Neverwinter. They had like a Neverwinter ARPG that was more like straightforward to the boss or whatnot. And I enjoy those games, but I never got to the end game of none of those games. I didn't know they had an end game on Ascendant. I think Ascendant, I think I got to the end and I beat it, and then I made a newer character, and then I try to beat it a different way with a different, sword and shield or whatever the case may be. And I think that's what it that like how I started playing ARPGs was that was the first introduction to an ARPG. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think another Skyview game that I was introduced was Command and Conquer, which was a RTS, and I enjoyed that because it was like chess, but it was so much in that game that I had to learn in order for me to be able to learn the defenses and how to get things. But yeah, man, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and comment. If y'all want me to post more about PoE and what's the difference, and get y'all in tune and why the game is hard. The game is not really hard. I just put that in the title just to explain to y'all why people like the game, and why is it like PoE 2 is where it basically expanded. They put PoE on another level. It made it easier for casual gamers to even enjoy it now, where you can actually understand it more. Now, building your character is still harder than Diablo. Diablo is straightforward. You just level up and you put your points whatever your character is strictly restricted to. You can't sit there and make a melee character have magic powers or magic gems. Like, it doesn't work that way in Diablo. Whereas in PoE, you can make a melee character, a tank build, have magic. You get what I mean? You can make a Witcher character. You can make a Overlord have a melee build that can one-shot bosses. Like, you can't do that in Diablo. That's one thing I can say, and I am gonna repeat this again. If people that's watching to the fullest, I am gonna throw this in the next video. But in this video, I just had to throw this out there just to get people to to understand that why PoE is so great and why is it so hard. Hit that like button and subscribe and comment.